So, two important developments about electric vehicle transition in the marketplace. Policyholders are starting to promulgate some new rules and some new incentives to get the transition to electric vehicles to accelerate. Here's one from CNBC where some banks, now this is starting in Australia, but US banks are also looking at this, so expect this will be in this country as well. They will stop loaning on new vehicles that are gasoline or diesel. Right? So if you go to buy a car at a car dealership and you are buying a car that's not an electric vehicle, you can't get a loan. You have to pay cash. Even if those cars are still available from the manufacturer and available on the dealer's lot, the lending sources may not lend you money to buy that car. Right? This is one bank in Australia, but it's something that's starting to have a little bit of a domino effect. Other banks are jumping on the bandwagon, and some manufacturers are doing the same thing. There will be no more new loans on new combustion engine vehicles. They still will continue on used vehicles, but not on new vehicles. That's the first thing. The second thing is, in California, the government there is to try and banning gas-powered car sales. So they're going to make it illegal to sell new vehicles. This is different than financing. They're going to just make it flat out illegal. What are the details? Well, according to the article, CARB, which is the California Air Resources Board, that's kind of their version of the EPA, is finalizing a plan to ban the sale of gasoline vehicles by 2035. Now that's 10 plus years away, so it's a ways away, but that will accelerate the transition to electric vehicles. It'll even accelerate the transition nationwide. Why is that? California is the largest market for vehicles in the country, the biggest state, and the more vehicles are sold there than any other state. So their ban will require 100% of new cars sold in California to be free of fossil fuel emissions. And that is going to accelerate the manufacturers to stop making them, because that mandate, which will only allow electric vehicles to be purchased, will be adopted by 12 other states soon. So the car companies, it's not going to make sense to build vehicles that you can't sell in half the country or for half the market. California is the country's largest auto market, and that's going to make it extremely challenging for manufacturers to meet that standard. So first, before we go any further, what are your thoughts on this? Put your thoughts in the comments, whether or not this is a good idea, a bad idea, whether or not it'll work, how it's going to affect other things. Are there any unintended consequences? Whether or not these requirements are realistic or achievable is linked to external factors, inflation, charging infrastructure, supply chains. So they're recognizing it might be a challenge. What do you think? Do you think this is going to be a challenge? Do you think people are going to buy electric vehicles enough to make this work? Between banks not lending money on it, states not allowing it, is this going to accelerate the transition, or is it just going to make people look at other alternatives? Are people going to move to other states? Are they going to keep their vehicles longer? Obviously, if you stop selling them in 2035, you buy a 2030 vehicle, you can keep it 10 years and still have a gasoline vehicle. But you may have trouble finding parts. If manufacturers are not making new ones, there may not be parts in their parts department to fix old ones. There may not be mechanics to fix the old ones. So what are the unintended consequences? What else can you think of? Maybe we're missing something. Are you in the automotive industry? Are you in the lending industry? How is this going to affect you? Or even if you rely on gasoline transportation, what are the side effects of this that maybe no one's thinking about? Tell us in the comments.